Welcome to the Healing Out Loud. We are back with Felicia, where she was telling us about her life story and her life experiences. So we're going to start back where we left off. You were talking about basically like your marriage life and your daughter.
Right. I have my daughter, 91, and she is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And just knowing that I was carrying her pushed me to be okay. It snapped me out of that depression from dealing with that assault.
Yeah.
And her presence is what gave me the courage to finally leave her father and all that he was putting me through, because I was determined that that was not going to be her life. She was not going to be that statistic.
So, question. So, I remember we were talking about, just to go back a little bit, that you were assaulted a few months before you got pregnant with your...
No, I wouldn't say it was a few months. I don't remember how long it was, but it was at least a year.
Okay.
I think, but it wasn't immediate because, like I said, rape is rape, but it wasn't that kind of rape that it would have produced her. Whoever it was.
So I kind of want to dig into like your mind frame during that year, right before you had her. Like how was it living, because you're still married at this point. Your relationship was pretty bad. You were going through physical, mental, emotional abuse at home, and then you were just molested. So how did you mentally and physically deal with that? How was that experience for you?
I did what I always did. I just pushed it down. And I just pushed it down and I just kept it moving. I had to. Because I don't know why, but I did. I just knew that I had to keep moving forward and that I could not let this get to me. As much as deep inside that it did affect me in some ways, but I knew that I had to be strong.
In what ways would you say that it affected you? Like, did it change? I know like one way you said you would no longer be in the building unless somebody else was there. Was there any noticeable or like mental emotional or mental ways that you could say that were noticeable that changed you after you were molested? I
was quieter. I used to cut up. I love to laugh. I mentioned before that I got my sense of humor from my uncle. Mm-hmm. My Uncle Charlie used me as a baby to get out of doing stuff, and he would hold me. So my first words were Charlie. And he used to tell me jokes when I was a kid, prank calls. Like he would tell me how people would call the house, and he would go, "City morgue, you kill him, we chill him," things like that. And I would answer the phone like that sometimes and just confuse the heck out of people. And I loved making my aunt laugh. I loved making her laugh. There's a story. I was in college, because I was in college for 2 years at Aaron Copland School of Music, and when I got married, I dropped out. Dumbest thing I could have done. But I always shared a room with my aunt, and I was home one day with her. She was getting ready to go somewhere. She was looking for a pair of stockings. I was always taking her stockings and using them, wear them. And I'm talking to her, and then one day she suddenly says, "Felicia, I can't find any stockings. You're always taking my stockings. You are always using them. You don't tell me. You don't ask. And as she's talking, her voice is getting higher and higher. And blah, 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 and you're always blah, 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 blah. And I'm just looking at her like, trying not to laugh in front of her because she's just going to get upset. My cousin comes in, perfect timing, and I couldn't resist. She walks in the bedroom door. She goes, okay, I'm going to the store. Oh, before that, she goes, you're always taking my stockings, blah, blah, blah. I'm tired of this. I ain't got shit. I'm sitting there going, okay. My cousin walks in at that moment, on cue. She goes, I'm going out to the store. Does anybody need anything? And without missing a beat, I said, yeah, Mom needs some shit. She ain't got none, and she's very upset about it. So, you need to bring something back for her. And everybody laughed. That was diffused. So I love to laugh. I love to have fun. And I would say only in the last few years have I gotten back to being that person. A little bit more serious.
Like what happened to you, it took that.
Yeah, because between that and between what I was going through with my husband, because it was in the midst of all of that, that I lost my joy.
And I just want to say, just to call that out, that you were very strong to have had that happen to you, and then you didn't go home to a safe space where you could let your emotions just flow. You went home to. I can only imagine that he turned, it into, it wasn't a healing space for you. Mm-hmm. And so.
It wasn't a healing space for a long time. And I didn't know how to process it. I didn't know how to make it stop, which is why that day that I just snapped and I actually attacked him. And prior to that, I was thinking about how to kill him and get away with it.
And I just want to say, so to have experienced that, I'm sure that you went through emotional, physical changes, mental changes, maybe anxiety or, things of that nature. And then you end up pregnant with your beautiful daughter. So I'm sure that, things started racing through your mind. How am I going to be a mother? How am I going to teach her to not experience the things that I went through? What was that like for you to have those thoughts?
The day that I had her, she was 2 days overdue. She was born on April 26th, so she has her 35th birthday coming. But now I want to cry. 2 days before I was to go home with her, I had a great OBGYN. She was born in hospital in Manhattan. He was wonderful because I had good health insurance at the time. He came, I was laying in the bed, the hospital bed, and I started to cry because I said, what am I taking this child home to?
Yeah.
How am I going to do this? And it was late. She was born on a Friday, and it was the following Friday because I was in the hospital a week because I had a cesarean. Out of nowhere, this doctor scared the hell out of me. He just shows up in my room. I was in a semi-private room. And he said, I just want you to know you're going to be okay. I don't know if I was crying loud enough that he heard me, but he said, you're going to be okay. He said, you're going to have some challenges. He said, your daughter, because Leon was 10 pounds, 2 ounces. She's 22 and a half inches long. And he said, your daughter may have some challenges growing up because she's going to be big for her age. But you're going to be okay. I don't know where he came from. And just as quickly as he just showed up and said that to me, he was gone. But it was enough to help me realize that, yeah, I'm going to be okay. Because I have what I wanted. I have this child. That's all I wanted. I never had any more children after her. I'm satisfied. after I got home from the hospital, I knew that the one thing that was going to have to change is I was going to have to get out of this environment.
So how was that? Did he come to the hospital or?
He was there when she was born. I got him a job with my boss at the talent payment company. I was home the last 2 weeks before she was born. He quit the day she was born. At that point, I was going to the hospital, to my OB pretty much every day, because at that point she was overdue.
Mm-hmm.
And she had turned breech the beginning of the last trimester and never turned back. I used to see her little head turn back and forth right up here. I remember the day that I realized that she had turned around because I saw it look like people were riding a roller coaster in my stomach. And when I went back to the hospital, and I was always nervous because of his drug abuse, if it was going to affect the child. Mm-hmm. So I was always nervous when I went to the doctor. And that last time, he took a little too long because he put his hand one way and then he hesitated and then he jumped his hand someplace else. And in disbelief, he said, "This baby's breech." And she remained that way. He was telling me, "Oh, lay on your left side, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah.
She said, "I'm not having it. This upside down business is not for me. I'm too big. Blood's grime to my head. I can't do it." So she went right side up. And it was a Friday. And I went to my appointment. And he's examining me. And he says, he was about to say, "Okay, well, go home, lay on your lap." Because I wasn't dilated or anything. I did not have any contractions. I only had Braxton Hicks. And I stopped him and I said, "If this baby hasn't turned by now, she's not going to." And I didn't know what I was having. I didn't want to know. I said, "If this baby hasn't turned by now, it's not going to. I don't have a problem not having this child naturally. Let's do this." And so he left the room. I'm sitting there with my legs up in the stirrups, and he leaves the room. And he comes back. I had already pre-registered at the hospital that he worked at, Lenox Hill. And he says, "Okay, come back to the hospital 2:00. Wait, what? Wait a minute now. You just said you're ready to do this like Brutus, so let's go." So I called her father, and I said, "We're having a baby tonight. I need you to go to the house and go get the bag." And as we're laying there, as I was laying there, filling me full of fluids, and he had actually done 3 deliveries prior to me. We got there 2. She wasn't born until 11:29 that night. But I had time we had boys' name picked out. I hadn't thought of a girl. But at the last minute, a few nights before, I had a dream about my daughter. She was born this little light-skinned, white, Eskimo-looking baby. And I had a dream about her standing at the edge of the crib smiling at me. When I woke up from that dream, I said, "We're having a girl." You couldn't tell me nothing else. I said, "We're having a girl." And I didn't focus on the boy's name anymore. I had a name picked out. Actually was going to name her Elisa something Cooper. And as I'm laying there waiting for my turn to have her, I suddenly said, "I need to change her name. I need to change her name." And he wanted to name her after the grandmothers, meaning my aunt and his mother. His mother's name was Mayella. My aunt's first name was Estella. I said, "There's no way in hell I am naming this child Estella Mayella. You are not putting my child through this. No. No, that's not happening." So I decided to call her Leona, because her father's middle name is Leon. And I compromised. She can have a middle name, and her middle name is Virginia Marie, because his mother's middle name is Virginia. My aunt's middle name was Maria, but I felt that it flowed better, Virginia Marie. And her last name is Cooper. And before I had that child, that's the name we settled on. He was there at the delivery. He was there. I didn't see him no more the rest of the week.
Until you went home.
Until I went home. And I think my godfather came and got me and took me home.
So how was that when you went home? What did you walk into?
He wasn't at the house. He was not at the apartment. That's the basement apartment in Queens.
Right.
I don't remember where he was. I know he did eventually show up. He claims that he was out working, looking for work. Who knows? Maybe he was. But I know that he never contributed a dime. Not a copper nickel to the raising and upkeep of that child. I went and got WIC. I went and got all of that stuff. Even after I left him, he never paid child support. Mostly because I never went after him. Why? Because you know what? I said, you can't get blood from a stone. And I know he doesn't have a job. I know he doesn't have anything to contribute, and we are doing just fine. It was hard. It was a struggle. It was difficult. But I did it, and I did it without his help. He only contributed one time, and that's when she was graduating high school. And I said, you need to call your father and tell him that you need money for your pictures. He paid $200. That's the only money that she ever got from her father.
So that kind of floats me into the next thing that we're going to talk about is, what advice would you give your younger self? If you could go back in time right now and know everything that you know all the way up until today, what would you say to, I don't know, what age did you leave the house?
When I got married. When I got married.
How old were you then?
22.
Okay, what would you say to 21 you?
Don't marry that Negro.
You made me cough.
His own sisters tried to talk me out of marrying him. I would tell myself, don't be afraid to pursue your dreams. Pursue your dreams first. And if you're going to have a child. Because I truly believe to this day, if it wasn't him, I'd still have Leon. If he wasn't the father. My daughter's so much like me, it's scary.
That's your twin.
In every way. But I would tell myself to don't be afraid to pursue your dreams. Don't be afraid to fail, because that's the only way you're going to learn. That's the only way that you're going to know what you're capable of. And know that it's okay to be by yourself. It's okay to push to be who you see yourself as, to who you want to be. And it's okay if that doesn't happen, because you're still the best friend that you can be to yourself. And I look at it and say I wasn't a good friend to myself back then, because I was looking to everyone else but myself for validation. And listen to everybody else's, remember, again, I'm third generation. So I'm still coming from that generation. Oh, when you're going to get married? Oh, you're going to have kids. And I wish that the strength and determination and the sense of self that I have now, I wish I'd had it then. Despite all that I went through with family identity. Family is everything, but family isn't everything. That's the best way that I look at it now.
That actually floats me to my next question. what do you think people need to understand about healing and growth?
That it's a process, that it doesn't happen overnight, that you have to be able to truly look at yourself and admit to things about yourself that you know you don't like, that you need to change, and not worry about what anybody else thinks about those changes. To know that it's okay if you had certain ideas about who you are, and then you come to find out that's not really who I am. It's okay to admit that, and it's okay to change based on that, and to seek guidance, and to be around people who are about lifting you up, but also being truthful and telling you the truth. Not being afraid to tell you the truth about yourself when they see it.
Yeah, holding you accountable.
Hold yourself, and hold yourself accountable. Having the people around you to help you hold yourself accountable. And not give up on your dreams, not give up on who you are. I taught my daughter every day, she's different. Before we even knew about the autism, the Asperger's, she was different, and I celebrated her difference. And I pushed her to be her authentic self. Be who you are. Yeah, I introduced my daughter to Nintendo. She loves Zelda to the point that she was walking around looking like Link with one earring and the tunic, and then she went towards goth, and she's still that kind of way. But she's also very artistic, and she can draw like nobody that I've seen before. And she kind of gave up on that when things got hard. She didn't give up, but she kind of put it down. Because life began to life. Life started lifing. And I had to be there to guide her through that. I don't know if my daughter's ever going to be ready to leave home, but I'm always going to push her to be independent. Okay? She helps me greatly. She is a little kid. She was my moral compass. I remember something happened one day and my daughter said, "Mommy, why aren't you practicing what you preach?" She was very little. Something happened and I was arguing with somebody, and I think it was her cousin or something, you know. She holds me accountable. And I hold her accountable because once we did find out that she had Asperger's, I told her, okay, so now we're not going to lean on that. We're not going to use that as an excuse. You just need a little bit more guidance. The guidance that I wish that I had. The understanding that I wish that I had growing up, instead of just passing it off. Oh, you're just being lazy. Oh, you're just, being willful. I look at my life now, and I'm happy with who I am. I'm fine being alone, even though I'm still technically mad, because when I left her father, I wasn't looking back. I wasn't trying to focus. I couldn't get in a divorce back then in New York because it was not a no-fault state in that respect back then. And when I tried to get it in Florida, he took forever to send the papers back because I didn't know where he was. Then little did I know, when I got back to New York after living in Florida for a while, statute of limitations had run out, and oh my God. Then I found out he was sick, and I'm like, you know what? I might as well just wait. Sorry.
That is Felicia, y'all.
It sounds, but here I am today, soon to be 64, with a daughter who I'm proud of, and a life there's so much more to the story of what I've been through. And it's been rough, even up to the last year where I lost my apartment because rent kept going up and I couldn't afford it. I lost my truck a couple of months before it was to be paid off. But it didn't lose my joy, kept my faith. I'm active, always been spiritual and active in church. I'm a reverend at the current church that I'm in. Yeah. But I kept my joy. I was not going to let that get taken from me again, ever again. So now we have a house to rent rather than an apartment that we were hoping to buy. Bought a new car that she gave me the grand down payment when she got her first real good paying job. Her full whole paycheck she gave to me to get that car. And I find joy in everything. Every little thing that I do. Because tomorrow's not promised.
That's right.
Tomorrow's not promised to us. And I think back on all that I went through and that I'm still here. I'm still here. God still has purpose for me. Okay? And I could be sitting at work and I decided to retire at 62. Don't know how I was going to do it. Working a part-time job. And we're still making it work. I haven't been late on the rent yet, going on 3 years. I have been late on a car payment. Well, that's not true. But I'm never behind, maybe a couple of weeks. Okay? Paying those bills even after my daughter lost her job. Okay? She took that hard. You know, but I got her through that. And she's looking and she's still pushing. But everything that I've gone through was not in vain. And I could be sitting at work and I'll think of something that, I get to do so-and-so this afternoon when I go home. That little thing brings me joy. So if I can still trust God through the 50 years, 50 some odd years, 50 years, because age 13 is when I went through my first trauma. 50 years. If I can still trust God and be joyful in the 50 years of everything that I've been through, there's nothing else that can happen to me that can touch me, that can break me. It's gonna be hard. Yeah, I cried snots when I lost that apartment. And I got evicted. I'd never been through something like that. But I got through it. Okay? I cried and I, boo-hooed. And then I got to go find a storage place. And I got to do this, that, and the other. And I did it. And I said, God, you see me through this 6 months. And we were staying with a friend and her husband. And I told her, give us 6 months. My daughter got her job, then I got my car, and then I found the house. 6 months to the day.
I have to say, I do appreciate you for being open and sharing your story, just to hear all of the things that you went through, going back to not growing up with your parents and having that guidance, losing your grandmother, leaving the house at an early age and getting married to a husband who would soon abuse you mentally, emotionally, and physically, and then find out, didn't have to experience throughout those years the molestation at your job, and then not having a supportive husband there after the molestation where you got pregnant with your now daughter, not there to support you, not as a husband or as a father. And you still pushed throughout all those circumstances. You still provided a roof for your daughter and a safe space, even though in the beginning it was hard. I'm just grateful to be a listener to your story, and I'm very thankful for it. I know that a lot of people are going to see themselves in your story and in this conversation.
And know that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And one last thing, I have a very good, loving relationship with my natural mother.
Okay.
She lives in Florida, close to my younger sister. And we are all, my two older sisters, older brother, we are all close. We all go on, we either call, we have group texts, we go on, what's the name of that app where you can kind of leave messages back and forth to each other, Marco Polo?
Yeah.
My mother's the one that introduced us to that. And so we do that. I did say I have a younger brother my father had after me. And, you know, I love my brother. We're not communicating right now. And that's another story because of his wife, but who happens to be my husband's sister's daughter. Yeah.
Y'all related two ways.
I'm not even going to try and unpack that right now. It is what it is. Can't help who you love, I guess. But you know, he's my baby brother. He looks like my father. He sounds like my father.
Yeah.
So, but it's cliche-ish, but it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
But if you just hold on and you keep pushing and you keep holding on to hope, okay, and have faith that you'll get through it. You will, and you'll come out on the other side better for it.
Yep.
Better for it.
I also wanted to mention, I don't want to forget any of your life experiences, but you were also held at gunpoint. You know, like all of those experiences that you went through. I mean, there are people out here who I probably couldn't even imagine just by looking at you. But just hearing your story, I mean, I like I said, I thank you so much. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and letting me tell my story, because you can look back on those things now and, you know, I mean, it happened a long time ago. And
but it still affects you.
It affects me. It's part of my story. It's part of my life. My daughter knows about the things that I've gone through, but I'm here.
Yes. Yes, you are. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to say or leave the audience with?
Music is still part of my life. I haven't played my cello in a long time, but it's music that keeps me grounded, that keeps me hopeful. It's a gift from God that I was able to play an instrument, that I'm able to sing. You already know. You've heard me.
Yes.
And I think that's it. I'm just grateful. And I no longer afraid. I used to be afraid of death. When I was little, I used to have nightmares. But after everything that I've gone through, I don't fear it anymore. The only thing that I want to make sure is that my daughter's going to be okay, so that the day that God calls me home, I know that she's going to be okay.
Which is no time soon. We love Felicia. Sorry, Lord. It's a kidnapping.
Yeah. I've had that conversation with her, and she's like, I don't want to talk about this right now. Well, we're going to have to, but yeah, it ain't happening anytime soon. Let me get that straight.
Well, for anyone watching, if something in this conversation resonated with you, don't ignore that. That's your sign that something in your life needs attention. Change doesn't happen by accident. It happens with structure, accountability, and doing the work. If you're ready to take that next step, you can reach out to me directly. But we are ending this podcast. Thank you so much again, Felicia, and let's get to work.